What's going on, guys? One question I get all the time when it comes to crypto asset and crypto asset networks is how can they possibly be defensible? What do we mean by defensible? Defensibility in general means that they can't simply be copied or taken down by another competitor. Because ultimately, when something is open source, everybody can see the code, everybody could copy if they wanted to. In fact, in crypto, that's a very common thing. We call that forking. So oftentimes when I talk with institutional investors, they are afraid that, hey, why would Bitcoin have any value? Because anybody can simply, spring up their own cryptocurrency. And this is where we need to talk about moats. Moats, as you might have heard from investors like Warren Buffett, are protections. Like in the big castles back in the day, they would have the moats that would take the enemies time to get over, which buys the castle residents time to defend themselves, right? So a moat can be overcome, but it always buys time and makes it harder and deters enemies from invading. Let's find out what moats exist in crypto. Number one, liquidity. Now, while I could copy the code of, let's say, for example, Uniswap, the one thing I can't just copy with a click of a button and a copy and paste click is the liquidity. At the end of the day, I need to convince people to provide liquidity to, for example, my DEX or to my derivatives platform, or provide resources like, for example, storage capacity to my storage blockchain. At the end of the day, every single network has a job that needs to be done. And while I can copy the code, I can't just copy the network participants. So liquidity, or in this term, network participants, is something you can't just copy. And this gets us to the overarching theme of all these modes, and that is network effects. You can copy code, you can't copy network effects. So let's explore some other network effects that can't as easily be copied. Number two, integrations. Again, I can copy code, but what I can't do as easily is, for example, copy the integrations that a platform has with, for example, merchants. For example, many online stores accept Bitcoin as a payment solution. However, they don't accept Litecoin, they don't accept Monero, they don't accept Bitcoin Cash or many of the other cryptocurrencies. So having integrations is, again, a moat. One of the most popular modes in the Web 3.0 space, for example, is MetaMask. MetaMask is an amazing Web 3.0 wallet that is in over 1 million Chrome browsers across the world. Now, the thing is, MetaMask works for Ethereum, which means MetaMask itself is a mode for Ethereum because if you're an EOS developer, you don't have access to MetaMask. If you are a Tezos user, you don't have access to MetaMask. So again, all the tools that integrate only with a particular blockchain give a mode to that blockchain. Number three, staked assets and security. Again, we always want to ask ourselves, what can we copy? What can we not copy? As always, we can copy the code, but we can't copy all the assets or all the work that is being done to secure the network. So two popular consensus mechanisms to ensure security are proof of work and proof of stake. Proof of work creates security through, for example, mining, right? But I can't just click a button and copy a million different computers that are mining for Bitcoin, right? Hence, many have attempted to fork Bitcoin, but what they fail to do is fork the security level that Bitcoin has by now, because you can't just fork the hash power, you can't just fork all the ASIC miners that choose to mine Bitcoin. On the flip side, you also can't just fork all the assets that are staked, right? Because let's say, for example, you have a proof of stake blockchain, right? And perhaps 20% of the users choose to stake their tokens to secure the network. Now you create a fork and airdrop them those tokens. Chances are, if they don't believe in the future of your little fork, they might just market sell them and buy more of the token they believe in. And we've seen this happen with so many forks, whether that's Bitcoin Cash, whether that's Bitcoin SV, whether it's Ethereum Classic, whether it's Ycash coming from Zcash. There's been many, many forks in history, and very few have ever stood the test of time. Number four, your community. Now, the community is the most important thing. It's the lifeblood, really, of any crypto network, because a network is made out of people, right? And when we talk about network and community, there's multiple jobs that need to be filled. For example, the devs. You might be able to take somebody else's code, but you can't force them to write code for you now, right? Which means that the original team will keep working on their vision while you are now on your own building your version, right? So if there's a super talented dev, let's say, for example, Vitalik, right? You can fork Ethereum, but Vitalik will keep building on ETH, whereas you're now stuck on your own trying to do your own solution, right? Secondly, protocol politicians, meaning there might be a lot of community members that really care about the future of a network, and they're going to do their research, and they're going to show up to votes in the DAO and actually, make decisions on the future of the protocol. But if you fork it, right, you can't force people to spend that time to care about the future of your version of the blockchain. Or even if we forget about forks for a second, if we say you're just trying to make a competitor, you first have to earn the interest. You first have to earn the trust and the care, to be honest, of community members that will spend the time to research what would be good for the network, to take the time to vote and show up. So protocol politicians, devs, and also users. At the end of the day, what is a network worth if there's no users? A network generates earnings when there's users willing to use it and willing to pay to use it, right? You can get all the code you want. You can launch an amazing competitor that's maybe faster, more scalable, more secure, and all the best features in the world. But if nobody's using it, who cares? So users is once again a thing that once somebody's chosen to, for example, have loyalty towards Ethereum or have loyalty towards Bitcoin, and trust me, in crypto, loyalties run high. If you fail to be able to secure that sort of loyalty, you might have the best tech in the world, but nobody's using you, nobody cares. Number 5, having a strong treasury. Look, back in 2017, a lot of projects were raising millions of dollars, some even billions of dollars, that still are sitting in treasuries. That means that money too is a moat, because that money is resources. That money is future team members. That money is future incentive. That money can be marketing, branding, technology, can be anything, right? And while you might be able to fork a project, while you might be able to start up a new competitor to a project, if you don't have the same treasury as them, then they still have a heads up on you, because ultimately incentives make the world go round. So ultimately the project with the bigger treasury is able to provide more incentives and attract the better talent and attract the right people to the network. And finally, last but not least, brand. I think there's no industry with more intense branding than the crypto industry. In fact, the crypto industry is so strong on brand that several projects are almost pseudo-religious, right? There's the Bitcoin maximalists that pray at the altar of Satoshi. And then there is the Ethereum maximalists that pray at the altar of Vitalik. There is such insane brand belief in the crypto industry, from the Link Marines to the Ripple Army, across the board. So, and that is something that you can't just copy and paste. No, that is something that has to be built. That is something that has to be earned. And in fact, some of it is honestly dog magic, where you can't just create it. Some of it just happens. Some of it is something that gets a life of its own in the darkest corners of the web and starts becoming almost a cult, right? And that too provides defensibility, because ultimately when people become so loyal, that means that even in a bear market, devs choose to build on you. That means even in a bear market, people choose to hold your asset. That means no matter what the market environment is, people will choose your protocol over others and ensure that you have big voter turnout, that you get the right integrations, that you attract the best devs, that maybe they even invest more, growing your treasury further, right? So ultimately, brand is what underlies it all, because it feeds into community and it feeds into so many of the other aspects that are so important in order to succeed. So as you can see, yes, this industry is open source. I can go today and create a copy of Compound. I could create a copy of Bitcoin. I could create a copy of Uniswap. I can create a copy of anything I want. But that doesn't mean that the original asset has no value. It doesn't mean that it becomes commoditized, because ultimately, while the code is free and open and allowing me the chance to make changes, it doesn't mean that anybody else will join me. Because at the end of the day, almost certainly more important than the code itself are the network effects. And that is a beautiful form of checks and balances, because ultimately, should the code ever go into the wrong direction, where the community then loses its trust and faith in the protocol, then the community can shift over and choose an alternative. But until then, as long as the protocol acts ethically and in favor of the token holders, and with the best intentions, then people's loyalty will keep solidifying, giving it the moat it needs to succeed in the long term. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more content like this, we created an in-depth series where we discuss DeFi, in and out, the entire DeFi ecosystem, from all the different projects, why it matters, why it's popping so much right now, and how it is actually accruing in value. If you want to learn more about this, go to cryptoacademy.us/DeFi. Check for the link in the description, and I look forward to seeing you there. Till then, see you next time.